Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady, Kannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard. Let's go! As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Kannon.
Welcome in, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. I am Brady Kannon. Along with my friends James Salinas and Mike Pritchard, we have officially crossed over into the second half of the contest season, week 10 out of 18, and we're coming off of a nice week ourselves. Not so nice for the consensus, a 1-4 mark for the most popular 5 picks in both the Westgate Las Vegas SuperContest and the Circa Million. We went 3-2 in the Circa Million and a 5-0, a nice rebound there in the SuperContest. We're still kind of treading water right around 500 in the top 30% or so. It's time to make a move in the second half of the season, gentlemen. Let's take a look at what happened in Circa Survivor, all the way down to 1,769 live entries headed into week 10. The Packers, the Lions, and the Cowboys really crushed some folks in Circa Survivor as we get ever closer to the gauntlet known as Thanksgiving and Christmas. 11 entries remain in Circa Grandissimo. 16 entries still alive in the $5,000 Super Survivor. By the way, 1 entry did use the Broncos on Thursday night successfully in the Westgate Las Vegas SuperContest Survivor. So they move on. They can take the weekend off. Survivor contest talk gets really interesting this week, gentlemen, because a lot of these good teams that are big favorites this week have already been used by many of the people that are still left hanging around in these Survivor contests. We will get to that in the middle part of the show here, but we'll start with games from an against the spread perspective. And we go back across the pond, this time to Berlin, Germany, where the Atlanta Falcons will visit the Indianapolis Colts. And the Colts are favored by 6.5 points, James.
Again, going overseas, this is always a tough handicap for me to try to figure out what, especially with Germany, we don't have a whole lot of background on what the fields are like. I'm sure they're going to be, it's pristine and it's going to be a nice, as far as the footing goes, but you know, it's a different start and a different perspective. And for both of these teams, I mean, we saw the Colts and they were running for the first 9 weeks of the season, playing incredibly well, and then ran into a very motivated Steelers team on the road. And Daniel Jones, well, when was it going to happen? And that slipper came off. It definitely did. It had a terrible week last week against us, in particular that pass rush. I think that was what was so interesting, Pritch, was, you know, that offensive line for Indy had been really holding up, not only in the passing game, but also rushing the football. Very stout up front. They're a very physical football team. And we know the Steelers and their mindset and their culture there to be more physical than their opponent. And they definitely were in that matchup. The hard part for me here is the other side with the Atlanta Falcons. We've talked about it all season long. I know for me, the Falcons have just been there's always a couple of teams that are outliers that I just can't get a good handle on from week to week. And the Falcons fit that bill for me, Pritch. They are such a zigzag team. Every time I feel like they're zigging, I'm zagging the other way. And it's just been a tough handicap. I don't know where they'll go with this game. I thought the number was a little large for the Colts here at 6.5. One key injury to note, DeForest Buckner, middle of that defensive line for the Colts, not going to play in this game. So how does that affect their rush defense versus Atlanta that has to get rushing the football with Bijan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, welcome to the NFC South, James Salinas. I've had my fingers burned several times with this division, in particular the Falcons, my former team too. So, I tend to lean towards the Falcons in this game because what the Steelers did to Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen is they eliminated the running game. They neutralized the running game, and that therefore you kind of neutralize the play action element of Daniel Jones. And Now you make him a pocket passer or a drop back passer, and he's not that. He's more of a play action guy. So what the Pittsburgh Steelers did was a recipe for success. And I wonder if the Falcons defense, because they have the players to do it, I wonder if the Falcons defense, Raheem Morris can duplicate that and kind of attack the Colts offense in a similar fashion. The other side, though, is where, can you back the Falcons because they can't score? I think they're averaging about 17, 18 points a game. And, Penix has not been that quarterback that he needs to be this year. And certainly I don't know where Kirk Cousins is, maybe counting his $90 million guaranteed and not even caring about being a quarterback at this point. So that's where I kind of hit the pause button with backing the Falcons. I loved them on a teaser though this week, guys. But for the contest, Brady, that's a lot of points, and it seems like if the Colts get it going again, if they did solve the problem with Daniel Jones, and they can still run the football effectively, that gets tough for Atlanta.
Yeah, I felt this number was a little high as well. I made it 4.5 in favor of the Colts. Raheem Morris does traditionally have a very poor record against the spread, against the AFC, whether he's a head coach or coordinator, whatever it is. He has never done well against the other conference. And it also surprised me in my research this week to see that with Bijan Robinson and Algier, that the Falcons are still middle of the pack as far as yards per rush attempt, like 15th in the league. I mean, come on, Falcons. You've got the best running back in the world. And now without DeForest Buckner, like you said, James, you just never know which Falcons team is going to show up. We'll stay away from this one likely. And if this game has you confused, how about the Browns at the Jets? This is a dandy, huh? Mike, I'll start with you. The Jets, and I think, as a former player, this is part of my handicap this week, and you can kind of lean on this a little bit or comment on it anyway. A notice was sent out to the players. We got rid of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. Hey, guys, nobody's job is safe. If we're getting rid of these two guys, and I think maybe that puts the players on alert a little bit. We'll see if they respond. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to lose their job. And certainly if you're the Jets and you're some of those players and you see those top tier players kind of exit out the door and kind of discarded via trade, that might perk you up a little bit. I mean, Aaron Glenn and the Jets are trying to get buy-in, right? They're trying to find the best players that they can develop a certain culture with. And if you want to be a part of that, and I don't know why you wouldn't want to be a part of that. I mean, think about it. There's 32 teams in the National Football League. Jobs are limited, especially starting jobs. And that's where you make the money. So if you're a Jets player, I think you're fired up for that. Justin Fields, I looked at his contract. To be honest, I was curious about this. He's got $30 million guaranteed on his 2-year deal, so he's not going anywhere. And so you wonder what he's playing for in terms of trying to improve his game and certainly trying to be the starter going into next year, even though the future might be a different quarterback down the line for the Jets. But you can't worry about that as a player. I think they are going to be energized, whereas Cleveland is just downright dysfunctional. And I don't know where they're going to find function, James. I don't know where they're going to get it right if they can. But no, I think this is an opportunity for the Jets to try to, start to become a Jet, if you will. And I wouldn't say bad apples are out the locker room, but they got a lot in return for those two players. And I think the future, at least the Jets will be excited about the future moving forward.
When we come back, we dive into the Carolina Panthers at home hosting the New Orleans Saints, a division game. And yes, the Panthers are a big favorite. We'll discuss that one coming up right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Las Vegas isn't just a place to play, it's a great place to live. Louis Payon with Magenta Real Estate is a trusted 5-star real estate professional who's called Vegas home for over 3 decades. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, Louis will guide you every step of the way with proven strategies that deliver results. Call Louis today at 702-849-7160. That's 702-849-7160. Louis Payon is the official realtor of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed. Covering Circa Million, Circa Survivor, Grandissimo, and every super contest at the Westgate SuperBook. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 20 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Mr. Pritchard, we go back to your beloved NFC South. Another beautiful battle here as we kick off the show. I mean, the Colts, the Falcons, the Jets, the Browns. Why not the Panthers and the Saints, my friend? And the Panthers coming off a huge win at Green Bay. We were on that one, thankfully. But now they're in the role of the favorite, laying 5 in the Super Contest, 5.5 in Circa Million. Can you trust them as a favorite, Mike?
I mean, not this big of a favorite. I like what the Panthers are doing. I mean, they're running the football and they got some hungry players on the field, and they have the youth movement, which is certainly improving. You know, inconsistent at times. They beat the Packers on the road in a very ugly game. Packers probably lost that game more so than the Panthers winning it. But I will give credit to the Panthers. Now, to lay 5.5 points with them at home with the divisional opponent, that gets tricky. That gets a little dicey for me. Even 5 points gets dicey for me, simply because I still look at these teams outside of their record. And I think from a roster standpoint, they're similar. The Saints are trying to start over with Kellen Moore as a head coach and ingrain a certain culture. But you know, and they're going to another quarterback, you know, and Bryce Young, for whatever he is right now, he's still a quarterback that's trying to find his way. And that's again, another young football team. So that's just too many points, Brady and James. I can't get there. I like them as a home favorite, you know, and maybe this is a survivor situation, but from a contest standpoint and trying to lay it and have them cover it, that one gets a little sweaty to me, James. What do you think?
Well, you mentioned a survivor perspective. That kind of flipped the tables. If you remember last year, I believe it was week 9 or 10 last year, where the Saints going on the road as a favorite to Carolina, they were a popular survivor pick. And that's where they had a complete meltdown, Derek Carr in particular. And they lost that game outright to the Panthers. So it was a big survivor. So now it kind of flipped around the other way. I mean, survivor here, I would not want to be playing the Panthers in the spots. It's still a divisional game. I know the Saints are rebuilding and it's been a rough season for this team, but they have shown up every week and played hard. Now, playing hard, you get your participation trophy for doing your job, I guess. But I think in this matchup here, Brady, might be a contrarian play when we talk about contest side, because I don't think the Saints are going to be a popular play in the contest.
Yeah, Derek Carr not coming through as a road favorite. Imagine that. Yeah, we'll see if we can trust the Panthers here. And many players will be faced with this team, or this game rather, in Survivor because of availability. We'll get to that later on in the show. The next game on the docket is an interesting one. The Buffalo Bills, another division game. The Buffalo Bills visiting the Miami Dolphins, where it'll be hot and humid. The Buffalo Bills coming off of, you know, what they do every year, beat the Chiefs in the regular season. And they did it again as a home underdog. Now they're thrust into the role of road favorite, laying a big number at Miami. They beat them by 10 at home earlier this season. James, I think, you know, this is absolutely the quintessential hold your nose and play the fish in this game for me.
A big number here. And we know that Josh Allen in his career against the Miami Dolphins, they averaged, the Bills do under his leadership under center, 32.5 points per game. So it's going to have to be, if the Dolphins are going to try to cover that number, you know the Bills are going to put points on the board. They found their running game again, both with Allen and with Cook. So they've been dominant coming back out of the bye for the last couple weeks. But here with the Dolphins, I think this is an opportunity. I mean, we know the Dolphins really have not been playing for McDaniels. He's a dead man walking. We're going to see a new quarterback or a new coach on the sideline for Miami next year. But is this the last then? It's still another divisional game. And I think you mentioned one thing with the weather. So it is going to be hot and it is going to be humid for this Bills team. Unseasonable now going down in November. Typically the Bills, I've seen them play a lot in September and really struggle with the heat and humidity? Well, humidity is going to be in the 70 percentile range. Heat's going to feel over 90 degrees. And we know for those visiting teams, they're always sitting on the sunshine side while the home team gets to sit in the shade. And that's going to be the case in this matchup here. But I feel like this is a lot of points here. There's a number of injuries all across the board on the defensive side for the Bills. And I think the number is in play here for the Dolphins, in particular for a potential backdoor cover.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, we're talking about strategy too, game theory, this point of the year from a contest standpoint. And we mentioned the Saints might be an opportunity from a game theory standpoint. Certainly the Miami Dolphins will be, because I do not think there's going to be a lot of people out there in the contest looking for the Dolphins to get inside this number. But it is a divisional game. And the Buffalo Bills, the preparation the last 2 weeks solely the focus was on the Kansas City Chiefs, and they win this game probably, but to cover this big of a number, I mean that's a challenge in my opinion as well.
Yeah, I don't know if the stock could be any higher on the Buffalo Bills right now, and they're feeling, okay, we did it, we got the Chiefs, and now a division opponent that they beat by double digits last time. I agree with you, Mike. Maybe they win the game by 4 points. We'll take that, catching 9.5. The next one is very interesting. CJ Stroud out with a concussion. Davis Mills comes in to quarterback the Houston Texans, and they have flipped to a home underdog now, a 1-point dog in the SuperContest with Jacksonville coming in as the favorite, and a 1.5-point underdog at home in the Circa Million, rather, Mike. Not the NFC South, but the AFC South. Maybe an equally ugly division. I don't know. What do you do with this one, Pritch?
Yeah, the quarterback, panicky quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. That's something that gives you pause a little bit. I'm a big fan of Devin Lloyd, and he's coming back ever since he was at Utah, guys. And I think he's impactful. And then on the other side, the Texans defense is really, really banged up. Plus, they got up for that Denver Bronco game, and they still lost that one. On top of losing their quarterback, maybe an opportunity for Jacksonville Jaguars. I have this game as a pick 'em either way, though, guys.
All right. Any injuries for me on both sides for this game, fellas, and Brady. I think for the Texans here, this is going to be a desperate team. This is a wounded team. They keep falling further and further behind in the standings. I think this is where we see a great effort out of the Houston Texans, but I don't know offensively with the injuries they've got, especially on the offensive line, if they're going to be able to put any points on the board in this divisional matchup.
We'll have to ask Derek Stevens and John Murray if we can play a teaser in the contest this week. I kind of like the Texans in a teaser, but of course we can't do that. We're going to talk Baltimore Ravens and Minnesota Vikings next on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
A couple of good games in the early window, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, both in very difficult places to play. The Minnesota Vikings will host the Baltimore Ravens as home underdogs, and James will start in Tampa, where the Buccaneers, off of a bye week, will host the red-hot New England Patriots, and Tampa Bay laying 2 and a hook.
Just 2 and a hook. And I know there's still some injuries offensively for the Tampa Bay Bucks. There has been all season long, starting with the receiving core as well as the offensive line. But if there was ever a team that needed a chance to lick their wounds during the bye week, it was this Tampa Bay Bucks team. And on the defensive side in particular, this is where this team is back to full strength, fully healthy. I really like the matchup here on the secondary side for the Tampa Bay Bucks, not only considering where that's the strength of that unit is in their secondary, but thinking about where the Pats have been. And so far, so good, really exceeded expectations, especially offensively, guys. I think with Drake May and heard all about his ability to throw the deep ball. Well, who's he been throwing the deep ball to? It's been Kayshon Boutte. Well, he is most likely not going to play. He has not practiced either Wednesday or Thursday. I saw a report earlier this morning. He was not viewed at practice on Friday either. I suspect he's not going to play. That's a big stretch the field guy. He leads the team not only in touchdown receptions, but also 18 plus yards per reception. Well, what has that done for both Diggs and Henry to kind of work in the middle of the field and work between the numbers, Pritch? I think that's a big loss that we're not really looking at from a wide receiver perspective as far as Drake May is concerned, throwing the football here. It is going to be hot and humid down in Tampa as well. Lick their wounds coming off a bye. I think this is a great spot for Tampa, just laying 2.5.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think about the number and you think about from an ATS standpoint, the Patriots are undefeated. They're 6-0 ATS. And then certainly on the road, undefeated on the road too. And you wonder if the books were trying to see what happens with the public or what people are going to do with this number. But I agree with you. I mean, I think Tampa was looking forward to that break. Todd Bowles has done wonders with this defense. And we all thought that the Patriots were going to start running the football against Cleveland. But they were okay. I mean, the last 4 games, they put up over 450 yards over those three games rushing the football. They're banged up a little bit there. And with Drake May, still a young quarterback, the drop back element of the football game is still a challenge for young quarterbacks. And I expect Todd Bowles to make it that by neutralizing the run, taking advantage at home. And I think Baker Mayfield was banged up or bruised and battered a little bit. So he was inaccurate with the football. I think his accuracy returns. And they got some young players that are exciting too. So I do like the Bucs guys in this situation at home with a Coach Vrabel blue collar football team that's done wonders so far this year. But this is a big game for them as well.
Should be a good game to watch. It's kind of our style of football. Physical, good coaching, good teams. Should be an interesting game. And the Patriots historically, even in the Brady Belichick era, have struggled in the state of Florida. Minnesota coming off of a huge divisional win off of the over the Detroit Lions last week. They are now in the role of underdog once again, catching 4 points, 3.5. Interestingly enough, in the Circa Million, and 4-point dogs in the SuperContest, James, with the Baltimore Ravens. All of a sudden, the surging Baltimore Ravens, healthy, every game their back is against the wall because they started off so poorly, 1-5. Now they got to win every game, and possibly win this division if they can keep it rolling.
Well, 2 games back of Pittsburgh right now, but games to play within that division. And I think that's where we look at. We knew this was a beat up team through the first 6 weeks of the season for the Baltimore Ravens, coming off their bye now, the last 2 weeks beating Chicago and Miami. And I think that's part of it. 2 bad football teams with the Bears and in particular with the Dolphins. But now you've come off 10 days rest to be able to go on the road to Minnesota. And I think for Baltimore, just feeling like we've weathered the storm with the injuries, getting back healthy, but also the schedule is very favorable for this team. This is probably their toughest spot here for the next 6 weeks with playing at Minnesota. Then they play Cleveland. They're going to play the Jets, Cincinnati twice, and then a showdown with Pittsburgh. So I think from that perspective, this is a re-energized Ravens team, Pritch, but having to go on the road to Minnesota and lay that number, I think this is a prove it to me game.
Yeah, prove it to me too. Have you noticed that they have not released an injury report? I'm still looking for that. Yeah, they got fined last week for the Lamar Jackson run, right?
Right.
So far this week, they have not released an injury report. So I think I'm not too high on the Ravens. I haven't been all year. It's a house of cards to me, old cards, those beat up cards too. But can I get there with the Vikings? I mean, I saw some good things from the young quarterback last week, but they got to do it again. But yeah, the Ravens are in a prove it situation for me as well, though.
I like the favorite here. We'll see if that ends up on our card. When we come back, we get into Survivor talk right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best Keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Check us out online, folks. You can get all the podcast information, our picks, our sponsors, everything at footballcontestshow.com. It's up there as far as your Spotify, your Apple Podcasts, your YouTube, everything, your one-stop shop, footballcontestshow.com. Okay, under 1,800 entries left in Circa Survivor. Only 16 entries left in Super Survivor and just 11 entries left in Circa Grandissimo. And gentlemen, I think this maybe presents the hardest week we have seen so far. Nearly 15% of the remaining entries in Circa Survivor have used your biggest favorites on the board this week. The Bills, the Lions, the Colts, and the Seahawks. How many people use the Broncos? Well, that's a part of that equation as well on Thursday night. So your 5 biggest favorites this week have been used by roughly 15% of the field. One entry did use the Broncos successfully in the $5,000 SuperContest Survivor on Thursday night. But Mike, I'll start with you. Where else do you go? It's road favorites, it's road dogs. I mean, it's the Panthers, the Bears. Boy, who are you feeling confident about with $18 million on the line this week?
Oh, I tell you what, you're not feeling that confident. I mean, I think you're looking for any type of strategy or game theory that can give you an edge. Here's where I think things get really, really interesting, because you go back to last year, after Thanksgiving and after that gauntlet, there was only 54 entries left. So we know in the next few weeks, as we approach December, that the carnage is going to happen. I mean, 1760 remaining entries left or something, what that number right around there. But something's going to happen. I mean, I think if you're a player involved in this contest right now, do you hold back teams for Thanksgiving? I mean, I think you have to. There's certain teams that you would want to. I don't know how confident you are with Green Bay. I don't know how confident you are with Dallas. Certainly Kansas City at home, if you're looking at them from a holiday standpoint, that's in your hip pocket or your back pocket or in your safe. But if you have multiple entries, I think you're going to have to look at Carolina. I really do. I mean, if you have multiple entries too, maybe you do have Seattle available, which is favorable for you. But I think people that kind of shot their wads early on, with the Broncos and all these other teams, with the Bills and all those teams, I mean, that's going to get dicey right there for a lot of players, a lot of entries. That's why I think the carnage is really going to happen, because we talk so much about the holidays, but again, this contest is about surviving and getting there. And I think at this point, getting there with any means possible might allow you to have a chance to monetize after the carnage. If you get into December, now you're in a pretty good position to try to monetize anything you can to come out a little bit ahead or a lot ahead in terms of what you put into this contest. So, James, it gets highly intriguing to me, and let the game theory begin, as they say.
Well, and then you got to break the games down. So yeah, you've got to look at the entirety of the season as far as Survivor goes, and figuring out the holidays, which is really the toughest aspect to this for both Christmas and Thanksgiving. But looking at a team, where else would you play them? And I'm going to continue to advocate. For me, I don't bet a lot of games before the games kick. 90+% of my bets on a Sunday are going to be in game, but the Bucs are a play that I'm going to continue to advocate for. I like them in the contest, laying the 2.5, and I think the matchup is really favorable for this Bucs team against the Patriots. So thinking about, if you were going to land on the Buccaneers, you get the advantage of obviously playing at home. You're having the weather conducive to what is going to be effective for the home team that's used to playing in hot and humid conditions, but also the matchup from a personnel standpoint. Already talked about in the last segment when it comes to the secondary and the tough matchup that the Patriots are going to have to face, especially with Booty most likely not going to be out there to stretch the field. That you talked about, and you were talking about the last segment too, Pritch, as far as Drake May, still a young quarterback and having some of those struggles. He's been sacked 34 times this season as well. So tends to hold on to the football for a while. And you got to hold on to the football and to allow those deep routes to happen. Is it in his nature? And are they going to be able to coach him out of that and within 1 week to get the ball quickly out of his hands? I think it's still a tough matchup. And the other side, their second leading tackler, Christian Ellis, probably is not going to play in this game either. I really like thinking about where the Tampa Bay Bucks are. I think the matchup is super favorable in this spot from a scheduling standpoint. You might look at down the road as far as the Bucks are concerned. You do have a matchup in a few weeks against the New Orleans Saints at home, but that's in week 14. So survive in advance. You're talking December here and having to get through the gauntlet of the holiday when it comes to Thanksgiving. I'd be advocating right now. I am for the contest -2.5, but also if you had them alive in the Circa Survivor, I'd be looking at Tampa as well, Brady.
James, you talked about a game that you liked earlier today when we had our pre-show meeting. The Chicago Bears, 4.5-point favorites in both contests, hosting the New York Giants, who we went against successfully last week in their loss to the 49ers. I have to believe this could be the most popular pick on the board in Survivor contests right here. What do you think, James?
Very well could be. It's going to be great Bears weather, and not that the Giants aren't used to playing in cold, windy weather either. It's a crazy stadium with how the wind swirls there. So not out of the element for the Giants, but considering that the Giants are a one-dimensional football team, not able to rush the football. Scatterboo was a great rookie. Unfortunately for him, he is out with a really horrific injury. So I think the Giants, after how they've had to bounce back, or the lack of being able to bounce back from that fourth quarter collapse here in the Mile High City against Denver, that's a tough matchup for them to have to go on the road. So from that perspective here, with the Chicago Bears playing at home, you're going to get Swift back fully healthy again, back out there rushing the football. And I think that has been the biggest benefit for Ben Johnson, is to be able to get some balance, take the pressure off Caleb Williams having to make all the throws, get him ahead of the sticks in third and short kind of manageable positions to throw the ball. To your point, Brady, I think this is a really favorable matchup as well with the Chicago Bears here, Pritch. And I think from that rushing standpoint, that's where I'd be leaning Bears as too.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be 6-3. I mean, think about that with the Bears. And we talked about this too in our pre-show meeting about Daboll and how the owner wanted to fire his ass after that Denver Bronco fiasco, but he got talked out of it. Think about that for a minute. And I've been in a situation like this before, whether it was in Atlanta with Jerry Glanville or in Seattle with Dennis Erickson, when you knew the head coach was going to get fired. It's just a matter of time. I mean, that's where the Giants are at right now. Once you hear about the fact that your owner wanted to fire your head coach. So I don't know if that's a rally call. I mean, I think the Giants have not learned how to win. Obviously, they proved that against Denver, whereas it's completely different with Chicago. Chicago, believe it or not, is eyeing a wild card playoff situation. So they got lofty expectations, and they're getting better during the course of the year as well, too, Brady.
Mike, you mentioned the Seahawks and Dennis Erickson. They're a big favorite. They have not been good at home, oddly enough, this season. And we've got a division game here, a little revenge situation for Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals catching 6.5. Are you backing the Seahawks this week?
It's tough. I'm looking at play selection, and I have, because there's an identity standpoint, Brady, James, and also it tells you what they can get to. Sam Darnold's been awesome, but if you can run the football and solidify a game that way, that gives you a chance here. This game is going to be a tighter game, guys, but from a Survivor standpoint, I can see people gravitating towards the Seattle Seahawks at home.
Yeah, if you've got the Seahawks available, this could be a very popular one as well. But we know a large portion of the field no longer has Seattle left. We'll see. We get to the Lions and the Commanders next, right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria. When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
We have reached the late window of the Sunday card in Week 10 of the NFL season, and that brings us to the Washington Commanders hosting the Detroit Lions. And this is a rematch from what we saw in the playoffs last year, where the Commanders shocked the Lions and knocked them out, sent them home for the offseason. Now, Jaden Daniels probably home for the rest of the season as well, unfortunately getting knocked out of that game we saw last week. And I tell you what, James, Dan Campbell, if there's anybody that buys into a playoff revenge angle, it's probably this guy and the way he coaches and his demeanor and his personality. And with what the Commanders have left in the tank, this is probably going to be a massively popular game from the public. And typically we go the other direction, but I'm with the public here. I think the Lions roll in this one.
Yeah, there's only one side. I agree, Brady, and it comes to the Lions. I love to look at teams that when they schedule comes out, finding, is there a particular matchup or a team that, not so much from a revenge factor, but just a team that gave them a bad taste in their mouth last year. And this is definitely qualifies. You think about the Lions, and it was really Jaden Daniels. I mean, what a playmaker, what a season he had as a rookie last year as the quarterback. And he won that game almost single-handedly last year in Detroit. Some tremendous season and tremendous game in the playoffs on the road to put them in the NFC Championship game. Well, and dashing the hopes of the Lions, this is it. This is the one that's circled. Now we know Jaden Daniels will not be out there. I don't know if that takes a little edge off of the mindset for the Lions, but I don't think so. I think this is a game where it's going to be 4 downs for the Lions. We already know on the defensive side, it was already a mediocre defense at best coming into this season for the Washington Commanders. And now without your leader out there as far as the playmaking ability on the offensive side, all the pressure on the defense to have to step up. And with the looking at the balance that we see from Detroit, I think they really get back to rushing the football. It's going to be tough for Washington to get off the field defensively. And I think over 4 quarters, they completely wear them down and dominate the line of scrimmage and win this game kind of going away and covering that big number. Pritch, another big number in a divisional matchup here, which is going to be a fun game on Sunday afternoon. Rams playing the 49ers. Now, Rams a significant favorite on the road against San Francisco, laying 4.5 in both of the contests. We know over the course of their careers that Shanahan has really had McVay's number versus the Rams. We saw that early in the season on that Thursday night game in Los Angeles. Now the tide to turn with the Rams being a favorite on the road. Kind of interesting number here. What's your perspective on this game?
Yeah, so much on the line, too, in Week 10 between these two teams and for that division. When you think about the Rams and where they are in that division, having lost to San Francisco already. And look, I think San Francisco trying to get into the playoffs, limping into the playoffs, if you will, or this year, with a roster that is old and beat up. And surprisingly, they're in this position. But if San Francisco beats the Rams are going to be looking at a wild card situation. And you go back last year when the Rams were wild card, and I think they were a wild card. I don't know if they won that division, but as they went on a road and, you played the Eagles and all this in that situation, they couldn't get to the Super Bowl. Whereas the Rams, I believe they need to win a division. That's why I'm leaning towards the Rams, even though it's a tough number there. The 49ers are banged up. I think the Rams full strength. And then also, the perspective of the Rams, too, guys, when this is supposed to be a Super Bowl roster. Stafford, he was supposed to be banged up with his back, right? But where has that gone? Nobody's even talking about his back and epidurals. So I think the focus is really on this game for the Rams, because if they lose it, now they're 2 back of San Francisco, and then still looking at Seattle to play that situation. So there's a lot on the line for the Rams. I think they'll be motivated, much like you guys talked about with Detroit being motivated against the Commanders and covering that number. Yeah, Brady, I like the Rams being motivated and covering this number as well. But, there's other games on the board. Another one that's very intriguing, the Chargers and Pittsburgh. What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, I've kind of leaned on the Steelers all week long in this game, and really it's more of a bet against the Los Angeles Chargers. I made the number one in favor of Los Angeles, and I was very surprised to see it come out as 3. We know Joe Alt, unfortunately, is out for the season. They haven't had Rashawn Slater out or in there for the entire season. They're literally down to third and fourth stringers on that offensive line. Omarion Hampton, the star running back, rookie out of North Carolina, he's not there anymore. They've got injuries in the secondary. Unfortunately, the injury bug has bitten hard at the Chargers once again, and I just don't see how they can be this big of a favorite. TJ Watt, Highsmith, these guys had a great game in upsetting the apple cart for Daniel Jones last week. I see a similar scenario here against Justin Herbert with the inability to protect that quarterback. It's 2.5 really across the board in the live market here on a Friday morning, and it's 2.5 in the Circa Million contest. It'll definitely be popular in the SuperContest, James, where you're getting the full 3 points on the Steelers.
Indeed, and that's the matchup at the line of scrimmage. And thinking about where the Chargers are playing at home, but we know that is the stepchild of the NFL when we're talking about Los Angeles. It's a Rams team. Actually, it's a Dodgers and a Lakers city, but they're going to favor the Rams versus the Chargers here. And I think it's going to be Pittsburgh Steeler West, and ultimately there's going to be more fans. Not that the fans get out there on the field and perform and play. They may wish that the Chargers had somebody to put another helmet on, to your point, Brady, being able to keep Herbert upright. He's been pressured the most times of any quarterback by far in this league so far. 155 pressures on Herbert, Pritch. How's he going to stand up in this matchup, especially considering there's no running game for the Chargers?
Right, and I think for what they're doing with Jalen Ramsey in that secondary, moving him around and playing him at a little bit of safety, he's a tough player. He wants to hit. We've seen that as they've lost guys to injury. So I think the Steelers have tinkered with their defense. It rose to the occasion last week against the Colts. Aaron Rodgers on the road, and I think in a situation where he's feeling more and more comfortable in that offense, they get the job done against the Chargers there.
You make a good point, James, one that I had not considered. When the 49ers visit the Rams in Los Angeles, that's really, 60-40 as far as red in that stadium versus blue. With the Steelers going against the Chargers, oh my gosh, this might be 75% black and gold in that stadium. Those fans have passion and they travel well. Sunday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers back in the spotlight. We're back with our picks. We release them all right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show next.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by our dear friends at Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Brady, Kannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. It's time to unveil our picks. We mentioned at the top of the show, we're still kind of treading water right around 500. It's the second half of the season officially. We need to make a little bit of a splash, and we're going to roll the dice. With the Super Contest, going with our more conventional picks here, with the Dolphins at plus 9.5, the home dog there with the Buffalo Bills coming to town. Going to lay the 2.5. We're going to stick in Florida. Lay the 2.5 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the New England Patriots. We'll take the Lions on the road as 8-point favorites. The Steelers on the road catching 3 points in Los Angeles. And then finally, the 49ers as a home dog of 4.5 points. Now we're really rolling the dice in Circa Millions because we probably need to make up some more ground in that one. Going against the grain here with, yes, the New York Jets as home dogs, catching 2.5 points. The Dolphins again catching 9.5. The New Orleans Saints on the road at Carolina getting 5.5 points. The Texans as a home dog with Davis Mills and 1.5 points on their side. And then finally, the Monday Nighter at Lambeau Field, we're going to lay the 2.5 with the Green Bay Packers. James, I'd say you're probably the biggest gambler in the group. We're rolling the dice, man. This is fun. We're going for it.
Well, it's contest theory, fellas. And I think with contest theory, now that we're on the second half of the season, we know all the quarterlies restart themselves for both the 3 and the 6 and the 9 week contest with SuperContest, as well as the quarterly 4 week now for the Circa Survivor or Circa Millions. And I think from that standpoint, not only saying, all right, well, it's a new one. Do we want to pick what everybody's picking? We've seen where the consensus has been. And so it's not necessarily saying we're going to go against the consensus, but we're going to look at some teams that are kind of more further off the grid. I don't know how many teams are going to be playing the Jets, how many entries are going to take the Jets, especially with all the turmoil and the trades and everything else. Well, that's kind of the theory here, is feeling like, all right, we got a fresh start, not so much for the season long in the Circa side, because we're right about middle of the pack with that, but with so many players ahead of us, is it realistic to say we're going to get to that top 100 and be able to cash? I kind of think not, but this is an opportunity to say, well, let's start off with the quarterly and not taking teams, Pritch, that other players or other entries are going to take. And if we end up having a good week that week, I think for a team like the Jets in particular, and possibly the Saints, where does that land us to start off the Circa Millions, the next quarterly prize? I think that's kind of our theory here with those 5 plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're also playing along with the league and how it's developed. I mean, it's over 70% when you think about favorites straight up, right, on the number. But when it comes to ATS against the spread, it's right at 50-50. So you're seeing dogs kind of pick up. You're seeing teams getting better, more competitive situations too. I mean, just last night, the Raiders and the Broncos in that messy game, the Raiders still got inside that number though, right? So we're putting ourselves in an opportunity, giving ourselves an opportunity to make up some ground from a game theory standpoint, but also to have a pretty impressive card when you look at the plays out there as well, Brady.
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting card. And I believe we've done a good job of some game theory here, figuring out where we stand and what we have to do to make some noise. The one game we didn't really dive into heavily, James, is the Monday Nighter. And we've landed on the Packers in the Circa Sports Million, laying less than a field goal. I don't mind. I personally made it 3.5. And, this was part of our handicap last week. You really introduced the Panthers that made our card successfully. They were looking ahead to this game. They were coming off that big Sunday night game, looking ahead to this matchup on Monday night with the Eagles. Well, if they're looking ahead to this game, then let's play them here. I think they get this victory and cover the number, James.
They're going to have to run the football. Obviously, with Kraft being lost, tough injury for this Packers offense, especially the vertical game. We really haven't seen a lot of vertical game as of late with Love. And I don't know if that's LaFleur kind of dialing things back and saying, hey, let's get to a more conventional, let's rush the football and let our defense really take over and win these football games. I think that's where this matchup comes to play, Pritch, with the Packers at home, not so much the offensive side, especially with Kraft being gone, but that defensive side for the Packers to get after it and really try to shut down that run and let Parsons really get after the QB.
Yeah, Parsons is going to have to step up big time. Just going to be a familiar opponent for him. And that trade has to pay out dividends at some point. I think what they're trying to do with Love is if they're going to win a Super Bowl, he's got to become a spectacular quarterback. But maybe they're rushing him a little bit. They got to get back to Josh Jacobs, like you mentioned, and running that football.
All right, we will see. Going to be a fun week for sure. Dolphins, Buccaneers, Lions, Steelers, 49ers in the Super, Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Texans, Packers in the Circa. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cash some tickets. We'll see you for Week 11 back here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.